I'm I'm not a very vocal person. I don't talk very often. I don't like talking. It just I don't. Like the main reason I don't really like talking is because when I think, what comes out of my mouth, just I'd prefer writing. Like sometimes I really wish that I could tell people that I'm mute and just write everything down because then I could look presentable. But it's really hard to put my thoughts together, and I've been through so many psychologically damaging moments in my life that have just messed up my perception of reality, and literature just expanded my imagination to the point that I'm a nervous wreck all the time, and it's just I hate talking because of that, you know. But I have some advice that I want to give you in regards to the act of self-destruction. Um, People message me sometimes on Facebook, and they're having a suicidal ideation. They're having a moment of weakness. That's what a suicidal ideation is. It is a moment of weakness, and it is perfectly human. You know, you feel like your walls are just closing in around you. You feel like there's nothing makes sense anymore, and it all just sucks, and it's just pressure on your mind all the time, and it's too much to handle after a while. It's just that simple, and there's no real cure for it. There really isn't. There's no cure. It doesn't matter how many pills you take, and it doesn't matter how often you drink alcohol or take drugs or any of that stuff. There's no cure for it. It's sad, but it's a fact. And support systems, they don't really help. They don't. It's sad but true. Support systems don't really help because you can be surrounded by all the love and care and support in the world and still feel lonely, because chances are the people around you don't understand. They haven't been through it. They don't have any evidence to support their claims of what they think is going on, even when you try to explain it to them. I don't know either. I go through it every day and I don't fucking know. But there are survival tactics. I use writing. I've said before that I'm clinically depressed, physically incapable of shedding tears. That's how I cry. I write, and it relieves me. It keeps terrible thoughts at bay. And some people, though, expressing themselves isn't an option. I'm sad to say it, but not everybody in the world has an artistic bent. But there are tactics of survival. There are survival strategies that you can put into practice. And one thing that I said to this last guy was, life is shit, life is rough, and everybody has to wait their turn. Life is a series of moments that we wait for. From the small to the large. We wait for our paychecks. We wait for our kids to turn 16 so we can send them to Job Corps. We wait for, Christmas. We wait for birthdays. We wait for this. And, the one thing that we are all waiting for universally is that we one day are going to die. It's a terrible thing, but that is something that we all wait for. And we have to wait our turn. It's just that simple. You have to wait your turn. And a good survival tactic, though, since life is a series of moments that you wait for, is to find something that excites you, that you're passionate about, and wait for it to happen. It can be something simple. The first time I thought about committing suicide, I was in my early 20s, and I found out that 6 months from the date that I was planning to hang myself, The Dark Knight Rises was coming out, and I love Batman. I do. I love Batman. I grew up watching the cartoons. I had all the action figures, and I said, okay. I looked at my calendar and said, I cannot kill myself until I see Batman. And that's what I did. I waited until The Dark Knight Rises came out. I went to the theater on opening day. How I didn't get fucking depressed when I found out what happened that day. But, I had a bunch of people running around saying, oh, the new Batman movie sucks and everything like that. And I was like, you know what? No, it doesn't. It saved my life. And I keep doing that. I do it all the time. I did it when I was still living in Washington. I would order a Soapwar album like every month and just wait for that day. I can't kill myself until Les Fleurs du Mal gets here. And I would wait for other things. I would think, when is my mom's birthday? I would think, when is the new season of Archer beginning? Things like that. Just things that, I liked. And I would, plan around that. And every time the event came by, I would forcibly find something else to look forward to. Another thing this guy told me was that he doesn't feel anything anymore. And, yeah, I've been there. I have. I can't tell you how many days I have spent just staring at an empty coffee pot, feeling absolutely nothing. No emotion, no cares, no nothing. I'm not even aware of my heartbeat, and, it sucks. It's terrible. But there's one thing that I remember every time that happens that is even more terrible than that. And that is this. I know what it is like to lose a parent, but I do not know what it is like to lose a child. I do not. And I never will, because I don't want children. I attempted suicide a few years back, and, fucking cars going by. I attempted suicide a few years back, and I woke up a moment, like a split second, out of my coma, and I saw my mother in the hospital room with me, and there is no amount of numbness or horrifying, crippling melancholia that is half as bad as looking into your mother's eyes for a split second and seeing, oh my God, I might be going home without him. Nothing worse than that. So, anyway, just some practical advice, and I think about other things too, what would happen to my dog. I don't talk about my dog very often, but what would happen to her, what would happen to Ryan, what would my sisters do, what would my grandma do, things like that. Those are just little things that you can do to prevent yourself from, spoiling everything. But there are, scenarios that I understand, like you have a terminal illness or something. Like if you have a terminal illness, there's no cure for it, you're in pain all the time, you decide to cash out, I would help you. I consider that an act of true love, to help somebody in that kind of need. My father committed suicide. I've never admitted to it before to anyone outside of my family. My father committed suicide. It's just that simple. It was a drug overdose. He was tired of waking up in pain every day. He had all sorts of skin cancer, 2 major surgeries that just resulted in a series of tumors up and down his spine. He had only 10% of his lungs left. He was tired, I knew it was, That's understandable. It is. I wish he had told me that was his plan. You know, now after I've had a few years to think about it, I wish he had told me that's what he was planning on doing. But I knew when I heard his last breath, I knew that sound. I told them not to do an autopsy. I wanted to give him that dignity of not having that on his record. That was my last gift to him. I just didn't let them do an autopsy because I didn't want it made known. So anyway, so that's like, if you're in a desperate situation, where you feel like it's all going to end, I hope you maybe have watched this video. I hope maybe my poetry has helped you. I don't fucking know why my poetry helps people. I've always thought that maybe it would make people want to commit suicide. But I just hope that some of you watch this video and maybe get a little bit of advice out of it. I mean, I think about it every second of the day. I do. I'm not even joking. I hear the word suicide every single second of the day, and I fight back. It's just that simple. You have to fight back, and even if you can't cry, there's always a reason to keep pushing forward.